Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel Learning Frenzy. If you haven't subscribed our channel, please subscribe to it and watch other videos that I have already uploaded on my channel. So today's topic is very important, which is formwork, which is also known as shuttering. So formwork is nothing but a temporary or permanent mold in which we pour the concrete till it gets sufficient strength for self-supporting. So it's just a mold in which we pour the concrete on site to give it a proper shape, and it is not just to give it a proper shape but also to provide a supporting. The formwork involves various materials such as timber, which is just a wood, plywood, steel, aluminium, and etc. There are other types of formwork as well, which are used as mold in civil structure in which we pour the concrete. The construction of formwork involves considerable materials. The cost of the formwork may be up to 20 to 25% of the cost of the structure in building works, and even higher in bridges. So when we calculate, we estimate the total cost of constructing a building. So in that case, the cost of formwork is around 20 to 25% of the total cost, and it goes higher in case of heavy structures like bridges. Formwork can also be named based on the types of structural member construction, such as if we are fixing up the formwork for slab, it is known as slab formwork. If we are using it for beams or columns, it is known as beam formwork or column formwork, etc. When the concrete reaches a certain required strength, the formwork is no longer needed and is removed. So when the concrete achieves the sufficient strength in which it can sustain itself, so then we remove the formwork. And the operation of removing the formwork is commonly known as stripping. So the procedure of removing the formwork is known as stripping, and the time which we require to remove the formwork is known as stripping time. Similarly, when the component of the formwork are removed and then reused for other parts. So the components which can be reused, when we put the shuttering for one structure and then we strip it, we do the stripping and then we fix the same components for another structure. Those components are known as panel forms. So let's see the requirements of good formwork. It should be strong enough to withstand all type of dead and live load. So dead load like the weight of wet concrete, and live load the people moving over the formwork. Like when we construct the formwork for slab, so there are people moving over the formwork, so that is live load. And dead load is any kind of load of machines or the concrete itself. It should be rigidly constructed and efficiently propped and braced both horizontally and vertically to retain its shape. So it is very important that the shuttering should be provided with proper horizontal and vertical props and supports so that it does not get deshaped. The shape of the structure is very important. The joints in the formwork should be tight against leakage of cement grout. So the joints of the panels of the formwork should be very tight so that the slurry of the wet cement concrete doesn't come out. Construction of formwork should permit removal of various parts in desired sequences without damage to the concrete. So in the operation of stripping, when we remove the shuttering, so it should not damage the concrete. It should have smooth surface so that it can be removed easily. The material of the formwork should be cheap, readily available, and should be suitable for reuse. So any kind of shuttering we are using, it should be cheap so that the cost of the construction doesn't go very high. It should be economical. Readily available should be available so that the cost of the transportation can be saved, and should be suitable for reuse so that we can use it again and again for different kind of structures. The formwork should be set accurately to the desired line and level should have a plane surface. So when we put the shuttering, there should be installed on desired line, which we also call the layout markings, and the level should be same so that it can get the desired shape. It should be as light as possible. So as light as it is, it would be more easily for the workers to install them and move it. The material of the formwork should not warp or get distorted when exposed to the elements, like when it's raining or it's too hot or it's too cold. So it should not be affected with those other elements. It should retain its shape and its properties. It should not be wrapped or distorted. It should rest on a firm base. So wherever you are going to install to put the shutterings or formwork, the base should be hard enough. Let's move to types of formwork. So there are different kind of formworks, like timber formwork, plywood formwork, steel formwork, aluminium formwork, plastic formwork, and fabric formwork. So let's move forward and have discussion about them in detail one by one. So let's see timber formwork. Timber is the most common material used for formwork. Timber is nothing, just a wood. The disadvantage of wooden formwork is the possibility of warping, swelling, and shrinkage of the timber. As you already know that we pour the wet concrete in the shuttering. So if we are using timber as the shuttering, the water content available in the concrete can make it swelling or shrinkage. However, these effects can be overcome by applying shuttering oil as coating. So when we apply the shuttering oil, the shutter can be provided from the shrinkage and swelling, because it provides the coating to prevent the water, to prevent the shuttering from water. This coating also prevents the material from adhering to concrete, and hence this stripping makes easier. So it prevents the concrete to get stuck on the shuttering, so that the operation of the stripping gets easier. Requirements of timber formwork. So it should be well seasoned. Well seasoned means it should be well dried. Light in weight, easily workable with nails without splitting. So when we fix up the nails, fix the nails, it should not get distorted or damaged. Free from loose knots. Timber used for shuttering for exposed concrete work should have smooth and even surface on all faces which comes in contact with concrete. So let's see the advantages and disadvantages of timber shuttering. So the advantages are, it is easily available. As you already know, wood is available everywhere. So the availability is easy. Formwork material can be made to desired shape. So these kind of shutterings can be formed in any shape, whatever you want. Can be made to required size. Easy to carry. It is light in weight, so it is easy to carry. Economically available and cheap. So as you know, wood is not that much expensive, so it is economical and cheap. Convenient for small works. So let's move to the disadvantages. It cannot be used for long, so you cannot use the timber shuttering for so many years, because it can be damaged because of the water content in concrete. If the timber is dry, it will absorb moisture from wet concrete, which could weaken the resultant concrete member. Timber with high moisture content, wet concrete will shrink and cup, leading to open joints and leakage of the grout. Let's move to plywood formwork. Resin bonded plywood sheets are attached to timber frames to make up panels of required size. So the sheets are resin bonded plywoods, and we use the timber as the frames in this kind of shuttering. Generally, timber is less expensive as compared to plywood, but in certain cases, this kind of shuttering proves to be more cheaper in following consideration. Like, it is possible to have smooth finish, in which case surface finishing is there. By use of large size panels, it is possible to effect saving in the labor cost of fixing and dismantling. So as compared to the timber shuttering, the plywood panels are bigger in size, they are larger in size, so it saves the labor cost. Number of reuses are more as compared to timber shuttering. For estimation purpose, number of reuses can be taken as 20 to 25. So these kind of panels you can use like 20 to 25 times again and again, which is more as compared to the timber formwork. Let's see the advantages and disadvantages of plywood shuttering. Plywood can also be cut in required size easily. So you can shape them, give them the desired or required shape and size. Plywood is strong, durable and light in weight. Provides smooth finish on the surface. They have smooth finishing. Very large size plywood sheets are available, which makes the construction of formwork quicker and easier. Curved formwork can also be prepared using plywood. So if you have a structure which has curved shape, so the plywood formworks are very useful that on such conditions. When compared to timber, it gives more number of reuses. Now see the disadvantages. When compared to timber, it is costly. Thin plywood sheets cannot sustain the weight of concrete. They may bow out if proper thickness is not provided. So if the thickness of the plywood is not sufficient to sustain the load of the concrete, it can be D-shaped. Let's move to steel formwork. This consists of panels fabricated out of thin steel plates, stiffened along the edges by small steel angles. The panel units can be held together through the use of suitable clamps or bolts and nuts. So they have different panels of steel which we join together with the help of bolts, nuts and clamps. The panel can be fabricated in large number in any desired modular shape or size. So you can cut and you can fabricate these kind of panels as per the required size and shape. Steel forms are largely used in large projects or in situation where large number reuses of the shuttering is possible. So on large projects where you need to use shuttering almost in every kind of structure, so in such case we generally use steel forms. This type of shuttering is considered most suitable for circular or curved structure. Let's see the advantages and disadvantages of steel formwork. Their advantages are they are very strong and able to carry heavy load. So if the load of the concrete or the even the live load is very high, so these prove to be very useful. Easy to fix, uniform size and surface. The steel has even smooth surface and the size is uniform. Can be used for a very long time, so they don't get distorted or damaged that easily, so you can use it for a very long time. So disadvantages: limited size or shape. So you cannot use a very big sheet of steel, so their size and shapes are limited. Excessive loss of heat. A very smooth surface will be produced which would give problems for finishing process. So let's have a comparison between steel formwork and timber formwork. Steel forms are stronger, durable and have longer life than timber formwork, and their reuses are more in number. So you can use the steel formwork for a longer time and you can reuse its panel in large numbers as compared to timber formwork. I mean, you can reuse them again and again. Steel forms can be installed and dismantled with greater ease and speed. The quality of exposed concrete surface by using steel forms is good, and such surfaces need no further treatment. So if you are using steel formwork instead of timber formwork, the further smoothing or treatment of the surface is no more required. Steel formwork does not absorb moisture from concrete, as in case of timber, as you already know, wood has this tendency of absorbing water, but steel formworks, they don't absorb moisture from the concrete. Steel formwork does not shrink or warp. Let's move to aluminium formwork. It is used for prefabricated formwork. So we generally prefabricate this kind of formwork and then we pour the concrete inside them. It is getting more popular because of its lightweight and good strength. So they are very light in weight, so it is easy to carry them and use them, and they have good strength. It requires fewer support and ties. So as compared to the other formworks, they don't need more vertical and horizontal supports and ties. Let's see the advantages and disadvantages of aluminium formwork. The advantages are it is easy to fix and easy to dismantle. So the stripping operation and the fixing is very easy. It can be handled easily because of its lightweight. It can be reused for many times. The walls and slabs of the structure can be casted simultaneously. So even the slabs and the walls you can cast at the same time. Monolithic crack-free structure can be built using aluminium formwork. Now let's see the disadvantages. When the load reaches its maximum limit, the lighter section may deflect. So they don't carry that, they cannot carry that much load. So if the load of the concrete is too much, if the thickness, the depth, the dimensions of the structure is larger and the weight, the load of the concrete is too much, so in such condition the aluminium formworks, their sections may deflect, they can deform their shape. Architectural modification are not possible when aluminium formwork is used. As we already have discussed, that we use the prefabricated molds, so they cannot be modified on the site. Next is plastic formwork. Plastic is another type of formwork material which is used for small concrete structures or for complex portions of the structure. It is light in weight and durable for long periods. For complicated concrete structures, glass reinforced plastic, which is also known as GRP, and vacuum formed plastics are used. Now let's see its advantages and disadvantages. So the advantages are as follows. Plastic is light in weight and can be easily handled. Formwork for complex shaped structure can be prepared easily. So if the shape of the structure is very complex, so it is better to use plastic formwork. Good resistant against water. The damaged plastic sheet can be recycled and useful to make new sheets. So if during the stripping process, if some of the plastic sheets get damaged, so you can recycle them and reuse them to make new sheets. Good quality plastic has greater reusability. So if the quality of the plastic is very good, you can reuse them again and again. The disadvantages are as follows. Plastic is weak against heat. So if the temperature, if the weather is too hot, they get deformed. So they cannot sustain that much heavy load. It is costly material. It is very costly. It does not take much load when compared to others. So as compared to the other kind of formworks that we have already discussed, it cannot contain, it cannot take that much live load or dead load. Let's move to the last kind of formwork, which is fabric formwork. Fabric formwork is the modern technology in construction section. Fabric can be molded into any required shapes, which makes it more famous formwork for architectural purposes. Let's see the different kind of loads work on formwork. Apart from its own load, following loads occur on formwork. Live load due to labor, etc. So the manpower which work over or around the formwork, they are considered as live load. The dead weight of wet concrete, the hydrostatic pressure of the fluid concrete against the vertical or inclined face of forms. Impact due to pouring concrete. So when you drop the concrete in the formwork, it has a certain impact. So that is also the load. Vibrational load due to vibrator during work. Erection stresses due to movable equipments. Now let's see the procedure, how to remove the formwork or the procedure of stripping. The sequence of orders and methods of removal of formwork are as follows. Shuttering forming the vertical faces of walls, beams and column sides should be removed first, as they bear no load but only retain the concrete. So the vertical members should be removed first because they do not carry the load. Only the hydrostatic pressure is the only load which they sustain, so they should be removed first. Shuttering forming soffit of slabs should be removed next. Shuttering forming soffit of beams, girders or other heavily loaded shuttering should be removed in the end. At the time of removal of formwork, keep in mind that there is no shock or vibration, as that would damage the reinforced concrete, because the concrete doesn't get its full strength during the stripping period. So you should be very aware about it. You should not provide any shock or vibration to it. Before the soffit and struts are removed, the concrete surface shall be washed out where necessary, so as to determine that the concrete has sufficient strength and hardened. So that's all for this video. Thank you for watching our video till the very end. Happy learning. Bye bye.